Now, today is February 13th, 2022, and this is an interview with Zach Sue by Nick Perkel. Now, Zach, tell me about getting your first guitar.
So getting my first guitar was, I must have been 14 years old. And this was when I was still living in Singapore. And I remember, so acoustic guitar wise, the first one was going to a shop called Davies Music, something like Davies Music in Peninsula Shopping Center in Singapore, for anyone who wants to look that up. And it was a $20 acoustic guitar by the brand of Kapok. I don't think you can find this anymore, even in Singapore. Kapok, $20 acoustic guitar, and the strings were kind of like this high above the fretboard. So I kind of started up quite a lot on that, and then eventually I ended up getting another guitar, which was an electric guitar. So my first ever electric guitar was from a shop called Cash Converters, which is kind of the equivalent of a pawn shop, I guess, in America. So basically that, yeah, it was a BC Rich random Strat looking ish guitar, and kind of had that for a while. Yeah, so those were the two first guitars sort of that I got, acoustic and electric. Yeah.
So what was it like for you growing up as a musician in Singapore? And did you take any lessons like in your schools from private music school teachers or attend any conservatories?
Definitely not attending any conservatories, but I think in terms of like, yeah, lessons from private teachers, I think one time I did have I must have had a drum, because I started out with drums. So I had a drum teacher when I was 14 years old for maybe a month or 2 months, something like that. And kind of learning rudiments and random shit. But apart from that, guitar, I never had any formal lessons or music teachers or anything like that. And I took some lessons in school. In Singapore, you get music lessons when you're in primary school and secondary school or in high school. It's kind of very bad, like recorder kind of lessons. You don't really learn that much in Singapore music lessons in school. So yeah, those were basically self-taught on both instruments. And still lots of things are very mysterious to me about both instruments too.
Now, what were your favorite things about learning about music in the Singapore education system?
I can't say that there were any, actually. Yeah. They don't make it very interesting for you. And or they teach you this recorder thing and they teach it to you very kind of mechanically and robotically, and you learn, well, I guess it may be the same everywhere in the world, but you learn the Titanic, was it that song, the Titanic song? That's kind of the highlight of your musical year in secondary school. But yeah, otherwise it was really the music and the interest and the love for music really came outside of school, really. Yeah.
Now, the last time I talked to you was fall 2012, and you were in Portland at the time, and now you're in Montreal. Can you tell me how you're a part of the music scene now?
Yes, so I've been playing in bands in Montreal. So yeah, so that's right. I was living in Portland up until must have been end of 2012. That might have been just right at the end of my time there when we spoke. And then I moved to Vancouver for about 3 months, and then moved out to Montreal sometime in 2013. And basically, since I've been here, I've been trying to play in the minute, basically like from the minute that I got here, I was trying to play in bands. Started out with playing playing in bands with my friend Antoine Weinberg, shout out, who was my first roommate, and we played like kind of power violence, kind of hardcore type music first with the band called Banal, and then Cloaca, and really just kept going on from there. I think those two bands are no longer existing anymore, but just kept trying to play, well, I kind of either punk or hardcore kind of music, or going into metal as I am doing now with Skum Strike. So it's kind of in both of those kind of scenes in Montreal, I suppose. Yeah.
Now, how does the scene in Montreal differ from your memories of Portland, Oregon?
I think my memories of Portland, back in the day, and I would say I was much less involved in the scene in general in Portland. I think something about being in university at that time, and I don't know, being busy with school and shit. So maybe a bit less. Definitely wasn't as involved in bands when I was living in Portland. But it felt there's some similarities. I felt like there was like the similar styles of music in the punk scene is what were played also in Montreal as well. I'm thinking of like kind of the D-beat stuff, the crusty stuff. In both cities, those are big deals. When it comes to the metal, I think also, I mean, Montreal is a big metal scene for sure, and I felt that in Portland as well. Even though Portland is such a small city in my estimation, you know, but it really had a great scene from my memories of it. So yeah, maybe there were some similarities. I think maybe the main difference I could point out between Montreal and Portland is that Montreal has the English-French kind of language kind of thing going on. So it makes for a different kind of flavor of people that you meet in music, and you know, speaking French, speaking English, and kind of adds to the dynamics a little bit in the scene here in Montreal. You might have English scene or a French scene a little bit. So that might be the difference that comes to my mind between the two cities. Yeah.
Now, what have been some of your favorite concerts or festivals you've attended in Canada?
Yeah, there have been loads, man. And I remember looking at this question going like, what's the first thing that just comes to my mind? It's like the one that I remember. And I think I would have to say it doesn't exist anymore. It's called Roar Festival. And you spell that with like loads of R's, loads of O's and A's and R's, and kind of like the Voivod album title, right? And I think it must have been like 2014, the edition of it. And it was, I think I just moved to Montreal. I was still kind of figuring out the music kind of scene and that whole part of life in Montreal. And it was really cool. I think who was playing? There was Incantation. It was a really mixed kind of vibe. There was the metal and the punk stuff. So there was like Incantation. Then there'd be, if I'm not wrong, was Iron Lung there? Maybe Iron Lung. And then there was Cro-Mags. And then I saw Power Trip. And then there was one evening I remember where it was all like kind of up and coming hardcore punk bands that I never heard of. And it turned out to be kind of bands like the Ajax, Hounds of Hell, kind of the bands that were coming up at that time. And then in the end, really in my head, or really stuff that I really latched onto afterwards as well. So it was really a special festival for me. In terms of having that metal side and the punk side, and even discovering new bands that I'd never even known, and blew my mind when I saw them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did the Crumb Bums from Texas come up?
I don't think so, no, but I've definitely heard of them, and I might have seen them in Portland one time. Yeah. Punk band, no?
Yeah, really crazy band from Texas. And
cool.
I guess, what did any bands from Japan or maybe Finland show up to the fest?
Ooh, I can't remember. I don't think Japan, but I might be mistaken. I don't think Japan. Can't remember Finland, but there must have been someone Scandinavian at the show or that festival. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see. Now, when did you join the band Skum Strike? And tell me how you guys compose songs together.
Yeah, so Skum Strike was formed, I want to say 2017, something like that. And it really was me and my very good friend Loken Archer, who's the guitarist in Skum Strike. I think I just messaged him one day. It's like, hey, I know he's like a metal guy, and just form a band. I guess how bands usually form, knowing someone ask someone you want to form a band. Yeah. So that's how we did, and kind of wanted to play something very much metal, but also very much something that's a mix of metal and D-beat and hardcore, and kind of get the best of both worlds, and crust and all that, with the thrash element to it in some way. In terms of how we compose songs together, generally it's him basically coming up with the riff and maybe like quite a few riffs, sometimes a full song structure, and essentially going in and massaging it kind of into a song, you know, saying which riff doesn't work and which riff works, and you know, maybe there should be another part here. I think with this band, compared to Xanadu a little bit, this band I think has a bit more of a jam. I don't know, sometimes we kind of come up with shit on the spot as well, so it's a mix of, you know, premeditated writing and also kind of improvised stuff on the spot. Actually, quite a bit of it. Yeah.
So like bringing up Xanadu, like pretty much what was like your style in the band for composing new music?
Yeah, I think with Xanadu, it was certainly at the end, or not at the end, or later on, and then oh yeah, for a while now, it's been like kind of me coming up with the whole song in my head, and bringing it to the jam studio and basically kind of working it out there, and doing little edits, but kind of not too much changing actually, yeah, as we go along. Yeah, so it's that one's a bit more like, okay, riff 1, riff 2, riff 3, and then bridge, and then you kind of have the song basically done a little bit. Yeah.
Now, what was your favorite song to record on the Execution Void demo?
Favorite song to record, I might say, was the first one, Filth. And I can't really tell you why, except it's a fun one to play. I like the riffs on that a lot. Like the energy of it is a bit of a simpler one from what I remember. Yeah, it's a nice one to play, and it was a nice one to have recorded as well. Yeah.
Now, with Serpant Corpse, how does this band compose music together? And like, what was your favorite memory of a particular song you guys worked on?
With Serpent Corpse, yes. That one's a bit like Xanadu in the sense that Adam, the guitarist in that band, is the kind of the riffmeister general, and he'll come up with the whole song. Also, he'll come up with basically the whole song into the studio typically, and essentially kind of from there, like the riff is being played, and then I kind of, because I'm playing drums on that one. So I'll kind of just match the drums with the actual riff as far as I can tell, and we go from there. He might tell me, no, you should do a different thing here, but it's really like in his head, here's the song, and here's the vision for it, and you kind of go along with it. And yeah, favorite memory of composing music with that band. You know, nothing, I can't say any specific memory comes to mind. Maybe I'd say that the first time playing with Adam and Andrew, who are the bassists and guitarists, and having composed like the first couple of songs, and it went by really easily, is what I remember. It kind of clicked, at least for me. I found it super easy to have just gone in and clicked with those guys. So that's kind of the main memory I have of composing, or the main sort of thought that I have when I think about writing music with Serpent Corpse, how it just clicks, really. Yeah.
Now, just I was just thinking for a second. Are you the type of person that likes to work with a metronome, or do you like to just freeball everything?
I actually very rarely work with a metronome, but I know I should. I know I should, especially for playing drums. Yeah, in terms of, you know, the discipline and making sure you're on time, you're not rushing or dragging and all that. So it's something I work on kind of half-assedly, not really that seriously about it. But when it comes to recording, actually, I find I'm kind of like, I don't really believe in the metronome, to be honest. Like there's some beauty in kind of a little bit of sloppiness. Yeah.
Okay. Now, getting back to Xanadu, the last thing you guys did was a split with Bloodstone, where you each covered the other band's song, and you also gave a new song. Can you tell me about the song "The Wall," like composing that?
Absolutely. And so The Wall, so that split came out in what, 2000, oh, just recently, right? So like last year, 2021, or might have been 2020, right? And so The Wall actually was written I remember, so the wall is actually about Donald Trump. He wanted to build a wall, right? It's kind of a big fuck you to that, basically. That's what that song is about, basically, to keep it very simple. Fuck the wall. And so I think we recorded that before Trump was elected.
Oh wow.
And I remember like writing those lyrics like, it'll never happen. And then, of course it did, right? So yeah, it must have been 2015, 16. And he came out very late, kind of at the end of his term, just because it took a lot of time to record label and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what that song is about. Yeah.
Now, what did you do to the cover of Johnny?
We played it kind of, yeah, I guess we upped the tempo on our end with Xanadu, as we we'll always play very on the faster side of things. So I guess compared to the original version is slightly faster. And I remember the main thing that we did was, or I did, was the solos. I think I really I really had to plan out those solos. Yeah, I think I tried to make it also different from what the original solos were by Bloodstone. So yeah, the Kade, the guy from Bloodstone, says you can really hear the planning in those solos, and you're really planning kind of guy. Yeah, so anyway.
I see. Now, what was your all-time favorite Xanadu concert you played?
There's a few. There's two that come to mind, and the one, if I were to say the all-time favorite, I would say was Manila in the Philippines. And the show itself was crazy. I remember it was weird. We went into the bar, and actually it was the kind of bar with, it was like, here's a stage, and then instead of like an empty space for people like mosh and stuff, it was seats. There were lots of seats everywhere. But I remember, and we were like, this is a bit fucking weird. Like, some of these are seats, like we're playing this, we're playing a fucking thrash show, And but like once we like, I think it was like from the first kind of chord, with the it was, I mean, there were loads of people at the front, and like stage diving and crowd surfing and all that. It was crazy. It was one of the craziest shows that we played, and it was also one of them shows where you felt like everyone's kind of on the same page with you. And it was just a very warm, sweaty experience. I think at some point someone pulled me and Shiva onto the crowd and all that. But it's also my favorite concert in that Manila is a very crazy city. It's very hectic, very chaotic, very poor as well. So it's also like very kind of visceral experience when you see like homeless children on the street. So to have gone from the street then to play this show where everyone's going crazy, you go out the show later, and then some huge brawl happened after the show. It's like, holy fuck, what this fucking crazy city, man.
Wow.
So
that's
that's the
man.
most memorable show I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Now, in your personal collection, what is the most cherished thing you own relating to Xanadu?
Yeah, good question. That's a cool question. And I'd say it is this very random thing. So it's this tobacco pouch made, like kind of homemade tobacco pouch with the Xanadu Black Death Grind Shit album artwork. And this was it was like our first show on that very first European tour that we did in 2010. And it was done in the city of Thjere. And I can't remember who did this. It was just someone who, like, it was like this kind of old couple who were there at the show, and they were like, I don't think they spoke English, and we didn't speak French, of course, at that time. And they were like, they just kind of gave this to us. And we didn't know what it was at first. Oh, it's a tobacco pouch. Okay. But like we took it, and then it's like, oh, fucking cool. And I remember it's cool that like someone made that for you. And it's like a random thing also. But like it's cool that someone made it to you, and it's also something I cherish because that was like the first is the first thing that we received from someone, and it was like the first indication of how kind and hospitable people were going to be on that tour. Like throughout that tour, it was amazing how kind and like helpful everyone was, and so appreciative of you as a band. To us, like we were what, 21 at that time, you know, we played quite a few shows in Singapore, but not really that much. And kind of, it was like feeling the love in some way, you know. So that's why I think that's the most cherished thing that I have. Yeah.
Now, what are your 3 most prized albums in your music collection?
I would say I have a copy of Whiplash, Power and Pain. And it looks like a kind of an old one. I don't know if it's original pressing, but it's from back in the day. And then I have a copy of Zeke's Death Alley. I can't remember where I got that from. And then the other thing that I'd say I feel very proud about pulling out from my record collection is a split between Municipal Waste, and I think it's a band called Bad Acid Trip. And the split is called, or the Municipal Waste side is called Tango and Thrash. And that is like one of the most, to me, one of the most important things that I remember hearing in my life. That side of that 7-inch. Yeah, for sure. Just the speed and intensity on it. Yeah.
Now, for you, what was your favorite ghost story or urban legend from Singapore?
Yeah, good question. And Singapore and Asia, and Asians in general, are huge on ghost shit, right? You probably know. Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite ghost story, but I remember I was thinking about this question, and the one that came to my head was is a ghost story, and it was when I was in the army in Singapore. So everyone in Singapore every guy has to do 2 years of military service, mandatory. And so invariably, most dudes have some kind of ghost story shit from their army days to tell. And the one that I remember was that kind of in my platoon, so your platoon has sections, and each section has their own kind of bunk where 15 or 12 to 15 guys kind of sleep. And this was in basic training. The camp where the basic training camps, the island where the basic training camps are on, is typically seen as a very like, well, they call it unclean, like a lot of crazy, I don't know, shit when World War II happened, and then there's a lot of kind of ghostly shit that happened on that island. And so, what was it? Basically, it was in the section over every Thursday. And Thursday is the night where I think in either the Malay or Muslim kind of way of thinking, Thursday is the night that the spirits kind of come out and make their presence known. And every Thursday night at this section, kind of their bunk, everyone's footwear would be relocated to someone's bunk. They would wake up in the morning like, oh fuck, all my shoes are everyone's shoes are at this bed today. And then next week it would be moved to another another bed. So that's kind of as crazy as it got for me in the army. Goes to, I don't know, I like it just because I was kind of there, but not really. But yeah.
I see, cool. Now, would you like to go back to any questions?
I think I'm good, man. Yeah.
Final words?
Well, thank you, Nick, for the interview. And nice to see you. And thanks for tuning into this interview, everyone else. If I could plug stuff, Xanadu might be coming up with something new this year. Crazy shit. How the fuck did we come up with that? Yeah, but after many years of not really playing, but yeah, we're gonna do something this year. Maybe a couple of songs, and then with my band Skum Strike, we're gonna release an album this year, coming out in April, hopefully. And with Serpant Corpse, also another band that I'm playing in. We might do something again this year as well.
Now, how can people find you on social media so they can be like, oh, I need Xanadu and Skum Strike and other bands from you? Like,
Yeah,
how can people get in touch with you?
get in touch with us on our Facebook. So Xanadu, Skum Strike have Facebook. I think Skum Strike is also on Instagram, and that's just simply by searching our name. I think would be the easiest way. So that's with Skum Strike with the instead of a C, the K, one word. So SKUM Strike. And the same thing with Serpent Corpse. I think we're both on Instagram and on Instagram and on Bandcamp. And all those bands are on Bandcamp as well. Yeah.
I see, cool. This has been an interview on February 13th, 2022 with Xanadu by Nick Perkel.